Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this video, yeah, not all, how you like that? We're going to look at the disappearance of Gannon Stauch. Maybe you've heard about it. 11-year-old Gannon Stauch disappeared in Colorado on January 27th, 2020. It was thought at first that he had run away. This was all over the news, and what the investigation uncovered was pretty shocking. Now, there are a lot, and I mean a lot of rumours in this case, so I'm just going to try and stick to the reported facts. I mean, this case, it's still ongoing, so we're going to go through it and where it stands today. So, without further ado, let's do. Okie dokie, so what happened? 11-year-old 5th grader Gannon Stauch was the older of two children, having one sister, Lena, who was 8. He was described as a loving kid. When he was born, he was given a 1 in 10 chance of survival, so he was a fighter. His father, Al Stauch, is in the military, working in missile defense. Al shared custody of Gannon and Lena with their mother, Landon, who lives in South Carolina. In 2015, Al married Letecia Harden, who was a 17-year-old daughter, Harley. Both Letecia and all the Stauchs are from South Carolina. But in 2020, Al, Letecia, Leticia's daughter Harley, Gannon and Lena were all living in Colorado Springs, you guessed it, Colorado. Now it seems that old Letecia had a hard time holding down a job. On her now deleted Facebook page, she claimed to work at a school district that denies she ever worked there, so maybe she dreamt it. In 2015, she lost her job at a school in South Carolina. She would again lose teaching jobs twice more in South Carolina and again in Colorado. Take a hint, maybe teaching is just not for you. Allegedly, at one point, she filed claims of retaliation and harassment against her former employers after she requested to be released from her contract. That harassment, allegedly, it occurred in South Carolina, is somehow linked to Al's ex-wife Landon. So, bit of a family, extended family. Shit. 3 weeks before Gannon had disappeared, she had applied to work as a flight attendant for Frontier Airlines. She would be based out of Denver if she got the job. Don't think she got the job. In January, Al Stauch was in Oklahoma on military assignment, and on the 27th of that month, Gannon Stauch disappeared. He was reported missing by Letecia, who said that on that day, 'twas a Monday, he left their home between 3:15 and 4 p.m. to go to a friend's house. Didn't say which friend. He was reportedly not in school that day because he was sick. And it would be a few hours later that he would be reported missing. On the 27th of January 2021, it was reported as a runaway, which wasn't like Gannon at all. The next day, Al took emergency leave, flew back to Colorado from Oklahoma. His ex-wife Landon flew from South Carolina to Colorado to help in the search.
And happening now, a family needs your help to find an 11-year-old boy who authorities say ran away. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office tells us that Gannon Stauch was last seen by his family on Monday when he said he was going to a friend's house. And News 5's Jessica Barreto is joining us from the Sheriff's Office with what we know about Gannon. Jessica.
Good morning, Bree and Ira. Well, Gannon is still missing, but we're told people have been searching for him since Monday night, and they've covered a lot of ground already in and around that boy's neighborhood. They've been searching all over Lorson Ranch, Fountain, and beyond. They've been posting flyers like this around their neighborhood, also online. All of these efforts to bring Gannon home. Now, Gannon's father tells News 5 that this all started when he took off for a friend's house on Monday at about 3:30 p.m. Within a few hours, he says his wife knew something was wrong when Gannon didn't come home. Eventually, the police were called in to help.
He's not really the type just to walk off. It's like, where could he be?
Hundreds of volunteers turned up in the search for missing Gannon. Dogs, you name it, it was there. Drones searched the surrounding area for missing Gannon. Neighborhoods were searched. Local businesses helped out. It was extremely cold and dark that time of year, so it was a worrying time for such a young boy to be out there alone. And around this time, the police started finding blood in the Stauch home. Apparently at one point Al found a dinner plate sized pool of blood in Gannon's bedroom, something Letecia said. Gannon, he had a nosebleed. He suffers from nosebleeds, you know. Well, that must have been quite a nosebleed. Evidence from inside Gannon's bedroom also included blood splatter on the walls. Blood that soaked through the carpet, 50 droplets of blood on the wall, blood on wall sockets, and blood on the boy's mattress. On January 30th, Gannon has been missing for 3 days now. You know, the search has found jack shit. Suspicion on Letecia begins to mount. The last person to have seen Gannon. This ain't their first rodeo. Last person to see someone. Yeah. As always in cases nowadays, rumours on Facebook and social media went into a frenzy, with nearly everyone pointing at Letecia and misinformation abounding. Authorities at this point actually had to come out and blast people for spreading untruths about what was really going on. As I said, I'm going to try and avoid rumours, but on January 31st, Letecia T gave an interview with a local news station, essentially to try and blast people who were spreading rumours about her and clear her name. What's she talking shit about me for? This is it.
You are?
I am Letecia Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20-some death threats already. 2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation I was told I wasn't complying. And can I elaborate on that?
Please do.
Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, you know, said I still wasn't complying, or said I was, you know, trying to run away or something.
I'm going to shift gears to what has become a huge online presence of people obviously trying to do the right thing, help find Gannon. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like rumor mongering. Have you seen any of those comments yourself?
We have. And see, that's one of the main things we haven't been around in the public eye, because I didn't want to expose my family to it if all these things were going on. You know, there was comments about Gannon getting pushed off the hike, and there was comments about this, and that's just not true. I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it. And I would never, ever hurt this child. And I know there's some questions out there about, okay, so tell me what happens. That's up to the investigations when they end up letting you guys know, but I've cooperated with them. The rumors have gotten so bad. I pretty much have been told at least 10 different ways that these people have these conspiracy theories. I guess they watch a lot of law shows, and maybe they have all these theories on how Gannon is dead, and that's what they're saying. So I'm like, why are you saying Gannon is dead? He is not dead. We are going to find Gannon. I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
I feel like I asked you what I need to. Do you feel like this is going to help kind of turn the tide of what feels like a witch hunt, in my opinion?
I hope. Am I on camera now?
You are still.
Okay. I think that a lot of people can see that I'm not missing and see that I am being cooperative, but to me, it's okay that they think those things, because the way someone thinks about me, I don't have a problem with that. My main thing is I would never want someone to think that I would hurt Gannon or any of the children in our home, because that's just not the case.
Any message for Gannon?
The message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things.
And the search for Gannon continued. No one had any idea what had happened to him. It was like he just vanished.
I'm Landon Hyatt, Gannon's mom, and I encourage you guys, I know many of you mothers and fathers, I encourage you just to find him. I'm so thankful for all the outpouring help that this case has brought. My son is a very loving kid. He wouldn't want harm on anybody at all. And it's so hard to just think, why is this happening to him? I have no clue, but my kid deserves to come home. My kid has a purpose. My kid has a life. And it's important to me, and it's important to everybody that's standing in this room. Gannon, Bubba, little man, mommy's hero, wherever you're at, mommy and daddy's here. And we're begging and pleading for you to come home.
On February 4th, a neighbour of the Stauchs, Roderick Drayton, had a go through some footage taken on his home security, and saw this on the day Gannon went missing. It appears to show Letecia getting into a red pickup truck Monday morning at 10:13 a.m. The footage also appears to show Gannon walking slowly as he approaches and gets into the truck. He seems to be wearing a blue hoodie, which is what he was reportedly wearing the day he was last seen. When Letecia returned back in the truck at 2:19 p.m., she was alone. According to Roderick, when he realized he had footage of Letecia and Gannon on the very day he went missing, he took it to Al and was like, hey, this might be useful, a footage of your boy when he went missing. When Al watched that footage, he reportedly just broke down and was like, she lied. Gannon never went to a friend's house. Letecia, however, denied she returned home alone. The next day, Al, Landon and Lena made a plea for anyone with information to come forward.
So I'm urging anyone that has any leads, credible leads, if you're too afraid because you know something, a kid just doesn't disappear and no one sees him. It's not how this works. So if you have anything that's credible, if you're afraid, don't worry about it. Imagine my son, how afraid he is.
When Gannon was born, he weighed only 1 pound and 6 ounces, and even today he's still our miracle child. He still is. And
by the time the 16th of February rolled around, still nothing. Hundreds of tips had been received, but no concrete information as to what happened. Now, somewhere around this time, Letecia left Colorado Springs and went back to Myrtle Beach in her native South Carolina. Rumors abounding, maybe getting some nasty looks in the supermarket when she was out doing her bits and bobs. I mean, hey, that interview she gave was pretty convincing, am I right?
Am I on camera now?
You are still.
Okay.
The reason she left is probably because an arrest warrant was issued for her on February 28th by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Now let's take a look at the affidavit, which paints a horrific and at some points bizarre story. See, while the search for Gannon was ongoing, the police were putting together a picture of what they believed actually happened to Gannon using all, the evidence they had. And the picture it paints is not nice. Letecia was charged with murder in the first degree of a child under 12, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. The affidavit discusses her changing stories every time she spoke to the police about what happened that day. How she told them she looked for Gannon in friends' houses, but couldn't say which friends. She said, Gannon left the house that afternoon, went to a friend's house. Which friend? That young fella who lives down the road. Which one? Any of them. Any of those young fellas who live down the road. He went to their house. It also discusses her abnormal behaviour, consisting of getting a rental car, disconnecting her cell phone for an extended period of time, weird travel patterns, and changing facts. And then also the big red flag that she left the state to go back to South Carolina when her stepson was still missing. You know, at this time you would think she would be helping in the search. I doubt he's there. We'll come back to that. Also, Leticia's reporting of an alleged rape that happened that day. Yeah, that's the bizarre part. We'll get to it. So, the investigators believed that Letecia murdered Gannon on January 27th in their home while the two of them were alone. Harley, Leticia's, 17-year-old daughter, she was at work. Lena, the 8-year-old, was at school. Probably in his bedroom due to the blood. It was violent. At one point, Lena told police that when she came home that day after school, she asked Letecia where Gannon was. And she answered he was sleeping because he was sick and not to bother him. Likely his bedroom was, well. Then he was probably loaded into her truck and his body dumped the next day in a neighboring county. That day, Letecia searched, "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" Gannon had a Nintendo Switch he loved very much, and she was wondering if it could be traced. Later, on the 27th of January, Letecia texted her daughter, Harley, asking her to get carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda, the quintessential murder scene cleanup gear. Subtle. The next day, Letecia rented a car and picked up Al from the airport when he arrived back from Oklahoma to help in the search for his son. The reason she rented a car, she said at the time, was that she was worried about putting mileage on her own car. Yeah, likely her own car was a crime scene in itself. And later, when the police would get to it, luminol tests would confirm that. The rental car was only used for one day before it was returned. On January 29th, Letecia arrived for a police interview. She actually arrived 2 hours late. This is the bizarre part. She told the cops that on the 27th of January, she was held at gunpoint and raped by a Hispanic man named Eduardo in her basement. At one point, she said, Gannon jumped on Eduardo's back. Eduardo threw him against the wall, and after that he kidnapped Gannon and stole a brown suitcase. He then hit her in the head and she blacked out. The detectives didn't believe that for a second. She had no injuries on her body. The story just wasn't believable. She signed herself out before the hospital could do an examination and check that she was okay. And on surveillance footage, there's nobody. That person was an imaginary person. Her stories continued to evolve over the next few days, trying to explain the blood away that was found in Gannon's room as the work of an intruder who attacked both of them. Next, saying a sex offender who lived in the area, one Quincy Brown, was the one who attacked them. Again, no evidence he was involved at all. On February 15th, investigators found a piece of particle board with Gannon's blood on it in a neighbouring county. Both Leticia's own car and rented car were linked to that area. The police got warrants to put trackers on her car. The area was covered in about 1 foot of snow, and bears, coyotes, and mountain lions were known to be around that location. At the time, it was thought his body may have been there at one point, but had been scattered by the wildlife. On February 18th, Letecia called a number associated with fakepolygraph.com. Hey, nothing says innocent like fakepolygraph.com. Regarding the footage the neighbor recorded, which shows Letecia returning home alone, the police think Gannon did likely return around that time too, and he was killed shortly afterward. Here is some of Leticia's search history around the time Gannon disappeared. It paints an interesting picture. Letecia was arrested in Horry County, South Carolina on March 2nd. held without bond before being extradited to Colorado Springs.
Okay, is this Miss Stauch? Stauch? I knew whichever way I went I'd be wrong, but okay. I don't know how much you know about the extradition proceeding. Do you know anything about extradition? Well, you're going to learn.
Gannon's mother also released a statement that day.
Today, I got the worst news and the best news. Obviously, we know what the worst news is, but the best news is that justice will be served. And I'll make sure that justice is served, because my boy did not deserve any of this that has happened to him. This person, the stepmom that I even trusted, that she will pay 100% for this heinous thing she done.
Now, at one point, while Letecia was being transported back from South Carolina to Colorado, while she was in the back of a police transport, apparently what happened is that she slipped out of her handcuffs and attacked a deputy who had to be hospitalized. She was held in Kansas jail for like 12 hours where it happened before being shunted off. What the shit is all I have to say to that. With all of this going on, the police were fairly sure Letecia had murdered Gannon. Obviously, the thing was, they had no body at this point. On March 11th, Letecia made her first appearance in Colorado, where she said nothing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Allen. I'm the Senior Deputy District Attorney prosecuting the Letecia Stauch case here in the 4th Judicial District. I'm joined here today with District Attorney Dan May. I do know that I speak for everyone who's been involved in this case when I say that our hearts are with Gannon's family and his friends. Ever since news broke that Gannon's body was found in Florida, we've been inundated with inquiries from the press and the public. This will address only what has taken place as a result of that development in this case. As I've said in the past, we will not try this case in the media. Today I filed new formal charges in the case against Letecia Stauch. Those charges are murder in the first degree after deliberation, a Class 1 felony that carries a potential prison sentence of life in prison without parole. In addition to that, I've filed 8 counts of crime of violence for the alleged use of a firearm, a blunt instrument, a knife or other sharp object, and for causing the death of Gannon Stauch. These new charges are added to the original 4 charges that we originally filed in this case. Keep in mind, these are merely allegations. All defendants are presumed innocent until and unless they are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I will not compromise the integrity of this investigation, so I will not discuss the circumstances surrounding Gannon's death, nor any details regarding the discovery of his body.
On March 20th, authorities announced they'd found Gannon's body. He was found all the way in Florida, Pace to be exact, near Pensacola. His body was stuffed in a suitcase and left under a bridge. It's unclear at this time how he ended up all the way in Florida. The autopsy revealed he had been shot, stabbed, his body put in a suitcase and thrown off a bridge. The police are appealing for anyone who saw Letecia in Florida around the 3rd of February to come forward. No motive has been established at this time, though text messages on Leticia's phone, they seem to reveal someone who was frustrated, looking after her husband's children and felt like she was nothing more than a babysitter. But that's not a whole lot to go on. Letecia is currently in the El Paso County Jail. A preliminary hearing has been set for early June.
I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology.
And that's where we are today. Not a nice story. Letecia says she is innocent, not guilty, by the way. Right. What a tragic, extremely disturbing story. I think compounded by the fact that this is still very raw. I mean, this case it's only, you know, a couple of months old. It's still ongoing. We still don't really know what happened other than what the police think happened based on evidence they uncovered. We'll have to see where this goes, but I think there's gonna be a couple more surprises along the way. How did Letecia get there? Around the, you know, early February to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Was she not in Colorado Springs helping out with the search? Did people not know she was not there? How she got his body all the way to Florida is even stranger. But I guess we'll just see what we'll see. And finally, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you, as always, real soon in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Mike out.